Hi beautiful people, it's your girl again, Olushayo. So today we'll be walking you through the documents you need to provide for your visa officer when you are applying for your study permit, and I would also be showing you my own documents, like the documents I attached in my application. However, before we get going, I want to say a big thank you to my returning subscribers for always coming here to get one or two informations. Thank you for always liking, commenting, sharing. Also, if you're seeing my face for the first time, thank you for bumping into me. I believe you're going to like it here. And please don't forget to like, to share, to comment. If you have any question, you can leave it in the comment section, or you can send me an email and I would reply ASAP. However, don't forget to subscribe, please. Also put on your notification bell so that anytime I upload a new video, you'll be one of set of people to see it. Now, let's get started. Yes. So before I start listing out the document and how to go about it, I need to point this out to you. In applying for a Canadian study permit, it's actually a big work. Like, it's kind of tedious to do and time consuming. So you have to be extra patient in doing this. You have to take your time in putting these documents together to confirm that they are valid and correct. You don't want to put wrong information out there. So you have to be patient, take your time in putting these documents together before you can present them, because every step of it is very important. You might think that one of it is not important and skip it out. At the end of the day, that might be the one you really need. Would also want to point that no information is too much. It can only be little. The information you are giving to your visa officer to work on your study permit may be little, but it can never be too much, trust me. As long as it is related to your application and is related to something that has been asked, then you need to give it to your visa officer, just to make the whole process easy for yourself and the person working on your application. So let's get into the documents now. Basically, there are a lot of documents, and sorry guys if you see me looking to my right, I'm actually looking at my computer so that I don't miss anything out of the whole thing. There are basically 3 documents you need to download from the IRCC page for you to do the application, and you're going to attach them again. There is the form IMM 1294. That is like the one of them, like the first major form I would say that you need to apply. What we have in it is just like everything about you. Like, so this form is called Application for Study Permits Made Outside of Canada, and it has 6 pages. So you'd have to like put in your name, your basic information, where you're from, your date of birth, your sex, your nationality and all that. And if you're a citizen of any other country other than where you live, this form wants to know that. This form would also ask for your marital status. If you're married, you need to put in there and put in your spouse name. This form wants to know that. Also, the languages you speak, you need to put it in here, and your passport number, when it was issued and when it's going to expire. Also on the same form, we have the contact information, where you live, everything about that. You need to put it in here. Your contact also includes your telephone number and your email address. You also have to put it into this place. Then we have another part that is called Details of Intended Study in Canada. Very important part. You don't want to miss anything out. In one of my videos, I spoke about the DLIs. So at this part, it's expected that the school you have applied to is a designated learning institute. So after putting in the name of the school, your level of study, you could either be going for your undergrad, for a college diploma, a college certificate, or a postgraduate diploma or a postgraduate certificate. It could even be a master's or a PhD. So you need to put in the level of study at a part there. Then your field of study, that's like your faculty, let me say. You need to put in the faculty, the province you have, the school, the address of the school. So you need to have all those information. And you also need to put in the designated learning institute number of that particular school. Every DLI has a number, so you need to put that in. Then student identity number, because it is expected that as long as you have been accepted into a school, the school has processed everything for you, so you have an admission number, more like that. So you are expected to put that into this form. Then your expected duration of study also needs to be in this form. You also need to put in your tuition, the amount you're expected to pay for the total cost of your study. If it's a year study, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you need to put the total amount that you're supposed to pay in this form. And the funds you have available, that is adding your school fee. If it's a 1 year, you already paid 1 year, of course you don't need. So your living expense and extra money you're going with, and if anybody is going with you, the money that you'll be taking along or you would have in your accounts for taking care of all these people, you need to put it in there. Then there is a part of this form that also says my expenses in Canada will be paid by. So the options you have there is myself, my parents, or others. So if you're sponsoring your education, of course it's going to be myself. If it's your parents, it's going to be your parents. And if it is others, then like your spouse, your brother, your uncle or something, then you'd have to pick other, and the other you'd have to specify who that person is going to be on the same form. Then there's another part that talks about your education. You need to put in your previous education. If it's just high school you have from your home country, then you put that in. If you have your first degree, if you have a master's already, if you have a diploma program or something you have gone for, you need to include all that. Then you also need to include your employment history from the scratch till you applied for this admission for the school. So you have to put in everything from what time to what time, your position, the employer, where the company is, and the background information just about your health, asking about few things, if you have remained in your country, if you have been to Canada before, and some other reasons. Then there is also a part that talks about if you have been refused visa from Canada or any other country before. You need to put it there. You cannot lie at this time, because these countries have their way of getting all this information, so you wouldn't want to lie about that. You need to put if you have ever been refused visa of any country and the reason why you were refused visa. You need to put it there. Then at the end of that, you sign. That is that about the IMM 1294 form. Then the next form is the IMM 5645. So this form is basically family information. Just the run through, it's going to ask you about yourself. If you're married, you need to put in your spouse's details also. If you have children, you need to put in your children's details, everything about date of birth, where they live, what they do, and all that. Then you have to put in for your parents also, your brothers and sisters, anybody who is late, who is no longer living. You still need to put the name and include that the person is late. But all the information about family, you need to include on this form. Then the other form is the IMM 5257, and that's the application for temporary residence. Of course, if you're going to school in Canada, you're going to be a temporary resident for the time that you'll be there. So you need to fill that form in, and this form is basically just asking you to put in family name, date of birth. It's going to ask you if you've been in the military service before, if you have participated in the ill treatment of prisoners or civilians, if you have some other things about your membership, government positions and all that. So it's basically nothing. And also it's going to ask about your previous travel. So if you've been to any country before, you would want to put it in here and have the dates handy, because it's also going to ask you when you went there and how long you stayed there and your purpose of travel. So basically those are the forms that you need to download from LCC page and upload back into your application. However, this form is more than that. Like, it's really, really more than that. So the application itself, I would say, is like in 3 parts. There is the main parts, That's the main document that you need to attach, which is the first form I spoke about, IMM 1294. Then there is the supporting documents and there is the optional documents. Like if you think there are more information you want us to know, you need to put it at that optional document. Now let's go to the documents that we really need to attach with our application. You don't want to miss this out, so you might want to get a paper and pen as I'm going to list them out and say what they contain or how to go about it. Other than the 3 forms I've mentioned, you need your passport data page. You need to scan that and put it in your application. It's part of your applicant's document or client's information. There is actually a place in your supporting documents that states that you need to put in your passports, your letter of acceptance, your proof of funds, and some other things. They are clearly spelled out. So those documents, you don't have to worry about it. Those are the things you have to put there. But you could put supporting documents, or you put them in like a Word format and link them so that the visa officer can click on each link and get to the particular documents they want to see. So you also need to take a clear passport photograph and attach it. E-copy, not the printed one. You're also going to upload it. You also need to upload your university's or your college's unconditional letter of acceptance. Yes, there is a conditional letter of acceptance. You could get an admission and you will still be asked to like fulfill some conditions, like maybe IELTS, or you need to provide your academic transcript, or you need to make payments or something. They are conditions, but your visa officer wants to see is the unconditional letter of acceptance. So you don't have any condition attached to it. You have been accepted. They want to see that. They want to see your statement of purpose, or you can also call it letter of intent. In another video, I'm going to be telling you how I wrote my statement of purpose or letter of intent that got me my admission. This because Canada does not do the interviews like the US, so you do not have the opportunity to face your visa officer and tell him why you're going to Canada, what you want to go and do there and all that. So the letter of intent or statement of purpose does that for you. So you need to like pour out your mind, paint the picture in a way that your visa officer will be able to imagine exactly how you have written it and be able to understand you. So that is a very important document in your study permit application. Also, we have a letter of employment. If you are employed, if you're working presently while you apply to the school, you need to show your letter of employment just to show you are gainfully employed. And you also want to show a letter of introduction from your employer, like to show that you're a good person, to speak well for you. A letter of recommendation from your employer is also important. Your birth certificate, it's important. They need to verify your age, your birth certificate. Then you also need to have the police character documents. You have to do that with the police. You need to apply for that and get it done. You also need to attach that, and that has an expiry of I think 3 to 4 months. So you have to do it close to when you are applying for your study permit so that it doesn't get expired before you apply. You need to do that. Then you also need to show your, like I said, your previous education, your high school, maybe your WAEC certificate, your NECO certificate. If you have your first degree, you need to show that. If you have any education after your first degree, you need to show that. Either it's relevant or not to what you're doing, you need to show that. Then you want to show your academic transcript. Every school has a way of getting your personal academic transcript, so you can apply for that. And your payment receipts, your school fee payment receipts. Some people will tell you that as long as the school is not asking you to pay and all that, you can do away with it. But I can tell you that your visa officer wants to see that commitment. Like, am I sure this person is going to Canada to study, or they are going just through the study route to do something else? So they want to see that commitment, and you would also want to show it to them. Then we go for the compulsory 1 year National Youth Service. So you would want to show your NYSC certificate also. Then you want to show your family picture. It might sound funny, but The visa officer wants to see that you have family ties, so at some point they want to know that this person is responsible, has been responsible for some things, or will still be responsible for some things. So you need to show pictures, birth certificates of your family members. Either they are going with you or not. Basically, if you are married, you need to show for your husband and your children. If you are not married, you may want to show for your parents or your siblings. It's actually not compulsory, but I just think no information is too much to review. It's not like they know you in person and they can use it against you. They need it just to process your application. So everything that you think would be of utmost importance to them, then you need to provide it. Also, you need to show your resume, or your CV as it's called, your curriculum vitae. You need to show that to your visa officer. They won't see it because you need to show like your employment history. Yes, there is a form that carries all that, but you still want to show some other, just for them to see that you have one. It's not so much if you ask me. Then if you have professional certifications from any institute, you can also show that. And if you volunteer, if you're someone who uses your spare time to volunteer, you can show your volunteering certificate or timeline. And you can also show recommendation letter from your previous employers if you still have access to them and all that. Then most importantly, you need to show proof of funds. I actually didn't talk about that with the other document because it's like there are two different parts. The client information carries every other thing about the client. That's the applicant rather. And the proof of fund. The proof of fund has a lot of documents attached to it also. So in your proof of fund, it's a two-way thing. It's either you are sponsoring yourself as a mini applicant, you could be the one sponsoring yourself, or someone could be sponsoring your education in Canada. So if you are sponsoring yourself, everything, your bank details, your employment, your pay slip, and everything, you need to show it. But if you are not the one sponsoring your education in Canada, then you need to show all those things for your sponsor. Your sponsor could be your spouse, it could be your parents, it could be your sibling, it could even be your uncle, your aunt, as long as you can show enough proof or reason why this person is willing to sponsor you. If you work for a company, you need to show your letter of employment, your pay slip for 6 months, because you're showing 6 months proof of funds, so you need to show that. Then if it's a sponsor, you need to show that for your sponsor. And if you are not working for a company, peradventure you work for yourself, you have a business that you run, then you would want to show the CAC certificate of that company. You would want to show the article of association and memorandum for that company. Every document that you got back from CAC when you registered that company, you need to show it. You would also need to show tax clearance certificates for that company that you are presenting. Other than that, if you're not using a personal account and you are using a company's account, you would need to show that company's statement, financial statement for 6 months, because that is what you are using as your proof of funds. So you need to show that. Your sponsor now needs to write a letter of sponsorship or an affidavit of support saying that I am Olushayo and I am going to sponsor Olushayo Jr. in our education in Canada with so amount of money and all that. Just like an introduction letter supporting your claim of sponsorship to the applicant. That has to be done. Your employment also, you would want to include your ID card if you have one, your employee ID card. Then your sponsor, if it's a sponsor that is going to sponsor you, the person needs to do that also. And if you have properties, you would want to include your property documents like your maybe deed of assignment, your survey plan, and if there is the C of O for that kind of property, you would also want to show that shows validity of ownership. So you'd want to show all that. And if you have maybe shares or investments that could turn into money one way or the other, you would also want to show them. So basically, those are the documents you need to present for Canadian study permit. Now, in my own case, I submitted quite a number of documents, even those that I wasn't asked, just to like buttress my point about a lot of things. And just like every other person, the statement of purpose is usually the first on your documents in your client's information. So I submitted my statement of purpose, then personal documents, the data page of my passport, my certificate, my marriage certificate being a married person, and my affidavit of change of name. If you are married as a woman, you need to put that to support your name change, because of course before you got married you had your father's name, and after you got married, if you had any education or anything, it has a different name. So you want to put a supporting document to show the reason for the change of name. Then I also had medical examination document. I forgot to mention that it's usually better to go for an upfront medical examination before you submit your application. So it's a form that you will be given at the medical examination center. And so you'll be given a form that you would scan and upload with your application. So I also submitted a police clearance, then my admission document. I had my school acceptance letter. I attend George Brown College in Toronto, and it's a DLI, so I had to attach that. Then with the school fee payment receipts, I paid for a year before I came to Canada, so I attached that. Then I also attached my IELTS academic certificate, because I applied to about 3 schools, and then I'm actually requested for the IELTS even after I submitted my the WAEC scratch card for them. So I had to go take the IELTS in 1 week. I just had 1 week to prepare for it, and luckily I passed it. So I also attached that in, felt it was necessary to attach it. Then for my education, I had my certificate from my first degree and the transcripts, and I also have a postgraduate. I attached the certificate and the transcript also. With my high school certificate, I used the NECO because that was the one I passed. Then I also have my NYC certificate, and for my professional documents, I have my resume, I have my letter of recommendation from my employer, I have my work identity card, and I have a professional qualification I had some years back, which might not even be so necessary, but I also attached that. Then for home ties, I made that like a subtopic so that the visa officer will see that this is home ties, family ties. So I am coming back home when I am done with my 2 years. So I have summary ties in Nigeria. I have my children's birth certificate. That was where I put my children's birth certificate, because yes, I have children. Then I put my marriage photographs. I have family photograph when I had my first child, the naming ceremony, I included that. For the second child too, I included that. Then family pictures with my mom, everybody I mentioned in my application, my mom, my siblings, I put them in. There was one picture or the other showing them. For my proof of funds, yes, I mentioned earlier that my husband is sponsoring my education, so we run a company together, and because his personal account may not be able to like fund everything, we had to include the company. So we had to include everything about the company, apart from him putting in his employment letter, his pay slip and all that, his pension certificate. We still had to put in our company's document to just buttress. So we had to put in the certificates, every of the CAC documents, but we did not include the company's financial statements because we were not using the company to sponsor the education. He was using his personal account, so we only moved money from the company's account into his personal account. And in the letter of explanation for proof of funds, we explained every money we moved from the company's account into his personal account and the reasons why we did that. So you need to explain everything that could look suspicious. We included properties that we had, either small or big. It was there in the client's information. Then we have the travel history, where we've been to, a passport page for that particular, the port of entry and exits. I scanned that and included them. Then lastly, we had oath of affidavit. I had to make sign an oath of affidavit to return home, just to show the visa officer I am serious about returning home. And also my sponsor had to like sign a letter of sponsor, and also in that he also included that he can vouch that I will be returning home after my study. So basically this is everything we have in your document. So I would implore that you go through, you patiently go through your application when you're doing it, and I'll put some links down in the comment section. Thank you guys for sticking by, and I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.